Do they wonder whatever became of you? That's today's question. Hi, I'm Sunny, and I have 3 piles you guys can choose from for that question. From left to right, I have pile 1, 2, and 3. So if you need more time, you're more than welcome to pause the video. Otherwise, skip to the timestamp in the description and then select the pile or piles of your choice and only take what resonates. Not every message will be meant for you. This is a general reading, so do keep that in mind. So for pile number 1, your cards are the... Oops, let me just move these up. So for you guys, you have the Knight of Swords reversed, followed by the 8 of Cups reversed. So do they wonder whatever became of you? The person in your mind specifically, or maybe just a general public, like who you know, like in general. For the most part, I feel like this is a no. I would take in consideration that they don't. However, they feel like you did walk away from maybe the spotlight, or you walked away from unfavorable situations, or you outgrew them, or you outgrew people, or the person you were going out with when they knew you, or more or less situations like that where you knew you even might have been far away or something, and you kind of just lost contact. It could be one of those things, or you became a little bit more private too, and less accessible for people to kind of meddle with your life. I do think overall that they got the message early on that you were already in this process of doing that. So that's why they don't, it's not that they don't, because it is a no that they don't wonder that much, but it's mostly because you kind of cut that out. Like that boundary was put up in place long ago. So I don't feel that they wonder that much because they know where you stand. You're a very like black and white person when it comes to having very definitive answers and very is it defined or definitive? Defined boundaries or definitive boundaries of how much you want to share with people, how much you want to let them know if they're not within your close circle. I do feel that maybe it might have been, I just feel that this one, like maybe you just walked away from gossip, or you walked away from like mean people that took advantage of your kindness or your heart or your emotions, or possibly even potential people that you dated, or just the specific person maybe was a potential suitor for you, and you kind of walked away from them. You didn't want anything to do with them because maybe they were under the assumption that you were onto greener pastures, or you let them know that you weren't interested, and you nicely put them down, right? In the sense of like, I'm not interested. I talked what I had to say, but it just feels like you've matured a lot, and you have a maturity to you in your responses. So I do feel that you might have cut that access to yourself quite some time ago, and that's why they don't wonder as much about you, because they know more or less what your plans were. So it's not like they're left wondering whatever became of this person. Like, not necessarily. Like, they know where you're, not necessarily where you're at, but I do think that they know more or less where you're at in your life, of the phases that you're trying to get into, if that makes sense. So that's why they don't wonder anything about you, because they're just walking away, or you're the person that walked away. Do take this in whatever way why am I getting messed up? Do take that information being relayed as to how it fits to your situation, whether you're the person walking away or this person's the person walking away. So yeah, I do feel that the communication was cut out pretty sharply. So like, no thank you, but I'm walking out. So thank you, pile number 1. Pile number 2. Oops. That there is 2 cards for each pile. So do they wonder whatever became of you? So you have, so the person in your mind or the people in your mind, do take that situation as to what you prefer, because I did say they, so it could be plural or singular. Sorry. So you guys have the 10 of Wands reversed, and then your last card is the 7 of Swords reversed. Upright. So for you guys, let me take a sip of water before I get screechy. Okay, so do they wonder? Some of you is a yes, some of you no, or it's a sometimes. It feels like it's kind of like, sometimes I'm being nosy and sometimes I really don't care. They could have, I feel like this person has a lot of air qualities to them, so that's why it can feel it's not necessarily flaky, but they're in and out. Like sometimes they're interested, sometimes they're not because they're doing other stuff. It could be one of those things. I also feel this person can have a fiery temper. So overall, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And when they do, they're trying to be, okay, the situations could be they're trying to be sneaky about it so that they're cunning, that they're trying to figure out stuff about you behind the scenes, doing a lot of work like that, menial things like, what are they called? That they're looking online for pictures or information, dates or your friends to see if you're like, hanging out with people and stuff. I don't want to say stalking, but you know what I mean. They're keeping tabs on you in that aspect sometimes, and it's not always. It's just like when they're getting in the mood of being nosy, of like, whatever happened to this person. It can be like that. I do think there's a possibility that they're trying to open that communication when that happens sometimes. So maybe it's because they're like, it's just that they get in their feels. I feel like they get in their feels and they're like, oh, they're reminiscing of a certain time frame that they knew you from, and then they want to open that communication, and then they backtrack. They're like, no, what was I thinking? Ew, no. Or like, no, it's beneath me. It just feels like that. Or they are sneaky but calculating and behind the scenes. Or if they are not behind the scenes so much, I do feel that this person is trying to figure out as much information about you, mostly to make sure, maybe I just think sometimes they might just want to know information about you because they want to feel better about themselves. Unfortunately, there's people like that where it's like they might gather information about you more or less through like deciphering through text or pictures or stuff like that from what they've seen online, for example, if it's not like in person. And when they figure that out, more or less like the story behind that, they're like, oh yeah, this person's like doing less than me or worse off than me or stuff like that, and then they feel better about themselves. So it just feels like that kind of thing for some people. Or the scenario can be that because they did that, or they're trying to be very calculating with situations that maybe they didn't put themselves out there when they should have. They did walk away, or they walked away because it was too much work. It just feels like they didn't want to work as hard anymore, or that was maintaining that being nosy was a lot of work, and they're like, oh, I'm like over it. So it does feel like they're like in and out of interest with you, but not necessarily doing anything about it. I do feel they're just like nosy, where they like to collect stuff about you, like information, but that's it. Like that's all there is. I just assume that they're very good at deciphering deeper messages sometimes, or like not necessarily in-depth stuff, but more so they're good at deciphering what you really mean, the double meaning behind something. It's like, they're fast, they're very sharp in that sense. So do keep that in mind, that this person sometimes is, but sometimes they're not. And when they do, it's like this, and when they don't, they just kind of work on other stuff. I don't think they have the passion to be nosy about you because maybe you kind of burned it out. But I do feel it was just a lot of work for them to be maintaining that or showing interest in you, and it was just too much for them. So do keep that in mind, pile number 2. So pile number 3, you guys have the Empress upright and the Knight of Pentacles upright. So if they ever wonder about you, this is a yes. I really like the theme here. I think for the most part, this and pile 1 were very interesting color palettes, because I feel like they went, it feels very like, how can I say, even though I just feel like it's primary colors, but yeah, I just feel like the sun has to do something with it. So are you like being creative? Do you have strong Leo placements? Are you in like Leo transits? Are you doing things that make you feel vivacious? Or is your vitality very up right now? Or something around those lines where you feel extremely happy and content with your inner child and very in touch with like yourself and putting yourself first and really thinking about what makes you happy, and being creative and doing all these things that are like outdoorsy possibly. So that's the energy you're giving out. So I do think that if they ever wonder about you, this is a yes. Or they pick this up because they're seeing you online, for example, or in person, and they can read, like, your temperament reads like that, where it's like you're very, very happy. I do feel that you possibly could be having a family or starting a project. I feel like even some of you could be pregnant, or you're expecting a baby, or adoption or something around those lines, or adopting a pet, even at that. But it feels like you're starting that with a family unit, or you're very happy, you're very in touch and nurturing. So I do think there's something that you're nurturing, and something's nurturing you back, where it feels like there's like this self-pampering sweet emotion. And like, I don't know, I just feel like you're very satisfied, especially with this Knight of Pentacles. I feel that this was some dedication work. So I do feel that this is a commitment to something that you decided to work on. So maybe that's why I assume, like, starting a family, or getting something like a pet, or working on a project is something that you invest yourself with, and early stages, but it still feels like you're more than happy to commit to that. So I do feel it's like a very sweet energy, and they see that, so they do wonder, but they notice that you're very happy. Like, it could be a friend, or it could be a love potential, or someone that's nosy from an acquaintance, or family members. It could be like that. So that's what they pick up. They do pick up that. Sorry, my throat's getting all scratchy. Hold on, let me take a sip of water. They do notice that overall you give off this very feminine touch to yourself. So they do see you glowing up. It just feels like you're glowing up in some way. So maybe even at that, if you don't feel it's that, I do feel that you're glowing up, and that's what they're noticing online. That I'm sorry, my throat's just terrible. But they do see you, that you are someone that put in the work and effort to feel feminine, or you put in the work and effort to start glowing. So I feel like you're having a body change, for example, or you're pregnant too. But I do feel that it's like a very nurturing move. I don't know, it just feels like something makes you feel very pretty and happy, and self-sufficient, in the sense where it's like very content. So that's why I feel like, example, like maybe you worked very hard to get to look a certain way, or you looked very hard to make your skin look great, or like you got a new wardrobe, but it just feels like you invested in something that's making you feel really, really happy and content. So that's what they're wondering about you, and I do think they picked that up, though. I really do think that they can notice that you're in this type of phase of life where you're kind of matured, and you're kind of focusing on this softer, nurturing side of you. Very, very happy, very sweet, very lion-esque, very protective, but very, very sweet. So that's what I have for you, pile number 3. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. So bye, everyone.